I've created over 500 landing pages across 100 niches. And in total, these landing pages have generated over $50 million in revenue. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 proven steps to build $1 million landing page. This is the same formula that I use no matter whether I'm making landing pages for multi-million-dollar brands or brand new startups. As long as you want your sales page to convert to sales, this is going to work. Now, I'll explain what steps are the most important. They're not what you might think. And I'll even give you a downloadable template and AI prompts to go with it. Let's get started. Step 1, imagine that you're on a busy street and somebody is trying to say something to you, but they just don't have your attention. If you are listening to somebody else or you're paying attention to something else, it doesn't matter what they say because you're just not hearing them. Your brain has got something called the reticular activating system in it. And it allows, when you're in a busy room and there's all kinds of conversations going on, but you can zoom in on one and just pay attention to that. That's the reticular activating system in action. So what you want to do is, first of all, you need to get people's attention. If you don't have their attention, there's no point. Everything else that you say is almost pointless. Now, there's a saying in copywriting for sales pages that the point of the first line is to get people to read the second line. And the point of the second line is to get people to read the third line. It's a slight oversimplification, but there's a certain amount of truth to it. So the first thing we've got to do is get people to actually feel like, this is for me. I should be paying attention here. So the way that we start that out is a call out to your audience. This is known as an eyebrow headline. And so we're going to start up with something right at the very, very top of the screen. And it's going to show who you are helping, calling them out, talking to them directly so that they know this page is directly for them. Now, the next thing that you want to do is have a compelling headline. So the headline is going to clearly communicate your main benefit or promise. There's lots of ways of doing headlines, lots of clever things you can do. But here is like a formula, a structure that works really, really well. You clearly communicate your main benefit or promise, and you talk about the problem that you solve, and you give them some kind of a time frame, like solve this problem in this amount of time, and maybe mentioning without this other thing that you don't want to have, like without having to do whatever, X or Y or Z. But just those first 2 parts, solve the problem in X amount of time, is a really solid starting point. And I've got some formulas for you. There's a lot to writing headlines, and they're very, very, very important. They're like the most important part of the sales page because 80% of people will read the headline and then it goes down massively after that. If you can grab their attention with the headline and this eyebrow headline, then after that, people are much more likely to carry on reading the rest of the page. So it's really, really, really important that you put a really good headline. And what most people do in the course space is they put just the name of the course, which is no good. It's terrible. So stop doing that. So I'm going to give you some formulas for this and kind of some structures for it. But one of them is that one that I just mentioned. Okay, so the next thing we want is then scroll stopping sub-headline as well. Now, so you've got the headline, and then underneath that we have the sub-headline, and the sub-headline goes into a little bit more detail. It's in a slightly smaller font size. Therefore, you've got a bit more space to kind of work with. So you grab their attention with the headline. You let them know with the eyebrow headline that you're there. This is for them. You grab their attention with the headline. Then you give a bit more detail about that benefit in the subheadline. So all of that is about trying to grab their attention before they go and just go, I'm just going to move off and not even look at the rest of this page. What I want to do is help make it easy for you to write these headlines. This is really, really crucial. So what I'm doing is including a list of formulas that you can use and some examples. And then I've got some AI prompts that's going to allow you to write headlines for your sales page using these formulas. And so it's just going to be plug and play. You put in some information about your business and your offer, and that's going to allow you to create these really, really quickly. So if you want to grab those, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment or the show notes, wherever you're seeing this. But if you've grabbed somebody's attention, but they don't believe that you really understand their problem and where they're at right now and how you're going to help them to achieve the outcome that they're after, then it does no good whatsoever. So the next step we need to work on is something called the transformation journey. Now, what most people do at this point is they'll just start talking about the features of their program. They'll talk about, this is the modules that we've got, this is what's included, this is how long the course is, all of this kind of thing. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is help them to understand that we get where they are now. We understand their current pain. We understand their current situation. We understand their life. We care about it. And then we want to show them how that current problem that they've got is actually affecting their lives in ways they haven't even realized. And then we want to talk about the fact that what we've got is the solution to their problem. Now, if somebody believes that you understand their current problem better than they do, they'll automatically assume that you've got the solution. And what's great is you do have the solution. So they're correct in this. And you do understand their pain better than they do because you've talked to 100, 1,000 clients just like them sharing their same problems. And so you understand it in a much more meta sense than they do. But you have to actually get this across to them. So this is the first thing we want to do, is have something called a pain, agitation, solution. And this is like a story that takes people through that, where we show we understand their pain point, we agitate it, we talk about the empathy we have and how that's going to be affecting their life, and then we present the solution as the answer. Now, the next thing we want to do as part of this overall transformation journey is something called the speed to results, or future casting. And this is about showing people how quickly your solution can get them the results, or painting a picture of what their life is going to be like after they've got this in place. And this is really important because people are like, well, I don't want to do too much work, and I don't want to, I want to get the result really quickly. So you've got to show them, well, what is possible, what is practical. And obviously you can't lie here. You've got to be completely honest, but probably there's stuff that they can do that will get them results faster than they believe. And the next part of the transformation journey is to talk about the benefits. So you've got to clearly demonstrate how your solution is going to improve their situation and the transformation that they'll experience. But none of that matters if you don't do this next step. Imagine you're thinking about hiring 2 plumbers, and one of these plumbers you know nothing about. They're just somebody who came along and said, would you like to buy this thing from me? And the other one has got 4,000 Google reviews and Trustpilot reviews, and they're all 5 stars. And they were recommended by a local newspaper or magazine or website as the best plumber in your area. Which one? And they're both selling the same for the same price. Which one are you going to go with? You'll go with the one that you can trust more, because you can see that they have proof that other people have said that person is good, rather than just them saying they're good, right? And that's what we need to do for you here. We want to build unshakable trust. And the way we do that is, first of all, we start with the meet the instructor or the credentials section. We want to establish your authority by sharing who you are, what makes you qualified to teach this topic. How many years have you been teaching this thing for? Or what kind of credibility have you got from other people? Where have you been mentioned online? What have people said about you? What testimonials do you have? Are there any reviews, any endorsements, what have you, from anywhere online? If you can mention that here, it's going to build up your credibility and your trust. But you could be the most trusted person in the world. If you miss this next step, the whole thing completely falls apart. So this next step is to, even if somebody completely believes everything that you're saying and they think you understand their problem and they think that you are very much a credible source on this, they're still not just going to buy anything from you. They have to know exactly what it is that they're actually buying. And it has to match what it is that they need. You have to show how what you've got matches that solution that you've talked about. And this is actually a step that a lot of people do really well, is provide a comprehensive breakdown of what's included in your offer so there's no confusion about what they're getting. The thing that's really important here that most people miss is, with every time you mention a feature, you tie it back to a benefit. So you show how this connects to their dream outcome and the transformation they want to get. But one step that most people miss, and that you quite possibly are missing as well, is to have additional offers, additional things that they'll get if they buy from you. So other things they'll get apparently for free if they buy your main product. And this is going to be stuff that's going to allow them to get the result faster or more easily or with less pain or whatever it is, some way of making this kind of result easier for them, or additional things that make the overall offer better. And we're going to position these as bonuses. And there might be stuff that you've already got included in your course, included in your program, included in whatever you're selling. What we're doing here is not saying, well, we're going to not include that. No, they still get it, but we're just positioning it differently. We're going to talk about how that additional thing that they're getting is an extra on top of the core offer of what you're actually selling. Now, have you ever been on a checkout page and thinking about buying, and then you were like, oh, but I don't know, what if it doesn't work? That's why we need to offer a guarantee. It's really important to reduce buying risk with a straightforward guarantee that builds confidence in their purchase decision. So they feel like, yes, even if this doesn't work quite right, I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to be out of my money. I'm not going to feel stupid about it. And that's another thing that can be important as part of that compelling offer. Now, none of that matters if you don't get this last step right. Imagine that somebody came to you and they're the most credible person and they sound fantastic and they've got a great offer, but there's no way for you to buy from them. How frustrating would that be? So what we want to do is place visible, call to action buttons strategically throughout your page. So about every 600 to 800 words, something kind of like that. We want one at the very top above the fold. Now, we had a client who said, I believe I've seen other people where they only have the call to action button down at the bottom. You have to read everything first before you get there. And he wanted to test doing that. And it was something we recommended highly against doing, but he went ahead and did it anyway. And sales dropped by, I forget exactly how much, but about like 40%, something like that. So we immediately put all the call to action buttons back in again at the very top. So we want one above the fold before someone has to start scrolling. And we want them again every couple of sections throughout this. There's two more things that we need to get people to take action. We want to close with a reminder. So we're going to summarize the key points, the overall value of the offer somewhere near the end of the page. So it's just because not everybody will remember everything they've looked at or read. And then the last thing is the most important. Here we want to have scarcity and urgency. So we want to create legitimate reasons why they should act now rather than later. When we're selling courses, the way that we do that is we have an email promotion that goes out with a time-limited offer. And so there's a discount for a limited period of time, normally for about 5 days, maybe a week. And so you could have the greatest sales page in the world, but if you don't have a great email promotion, then the whole thing is going to fall flat. So in order to learn how to write a great email promotion, check out this video where I talk you through that. And don't forget, people aren't going to read the whole page if the headline doesn't grab their attention in the first place. So we have to get that right. So if you want those free frameworks and the templates and the AI prompts, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment and you can download that.